Luigi Mangione is receiving global support. People are sending him money while others are making merchandise.
In some dark corners, this killer is being hailed as a hero. Hear me on this. He is no hero.
You do not celebrate the assassination of another human being who was just doing his job.
This Ivy League hottie named Luigi is the Robin Hood that we never knew that we needed.
Welcome or welcome back, and thanks for being here. I'm Cassie, and this is A Wicked World. The story I have for you today is one that has been all over the news and social media. But I wanted to make this video to put all that information together for you in one place, or at least as much as I possibly could. So let's jump right in. On the morning of December 4th, 2024, shortly before 7 a.m., a gunman, masked in the freezing temperatures of New York City, was lying in wait outside the Hilton Midtown Manhattan Hotel before he spotted his target and opened fire. 50-year-old Brian Thompson, the CEO of America's largest healthcare company, United Healthcare, had been shot dead. Brian Thompson was born on July 10, 1974, in Ames, Iowa. He was raised in the nearby area and graduated in 1993 as the class valedictorian of South Hamilton High School. Brian then attended the University of Iowa in Iowa City, where he received a bachelor's degree in business administration with a major in accounting in 1997. Here, he again became the valedictorian and met his future wife, Paulette. The couple had 2 children together before they separated in 2018. They were currently living apart from one another at separate residences in Maple Grove, Minnesota. Brian also liked to play golf, and he was an active supporter of the Special Olympics. He had begun working at United Health Group, which currently insures over 52 million Americans, in 2004. The company includes Medicare and retirement, as well as community and state divisions. It's also the world's 9th largest company by revenue and the largest healthcare company by revenue. Brian Thompson had become CEO of United Health Group in 2021, and during his time in this position, profits skyrocketed for the company, while medical care increasingly became denied for patients. This was largely in part to Brian implicating a new artificial intelligence system that automated claim denials, and it was said to have a 90% error rate. This had resulted in many of their customers incurring expensive out-of-pocket costs that they could not afford, or they were just simply unable to receive very necessary medical treatments.
But as a mom who was 9 months pregnant, sitting in the emergency room with my 1-year-old baby, being told she had a giant brain tumor that was causing her brain to essentially swell out of her head. She sat in the hospital for 3 days. She needed to be transferred to New York City so she could have emergency brain surgery. And instead, we sat in the hospital for 3 days because United Healthcare refused to approve the transfer via ambulance from the hospital where we live to another state. And at that point, I was ready to just get in my car and take her there myself. But United told us if we left the hospital by our own will and it wasn't via ambulance, they were not going to cover her at the next hospital we went to.
I've spent the last year begging you for a $600 infusion to treat the most painful disease known to modern medicine, CRPS, complex regional pain syndrome, the disease. Let me tell you, a year ago while United Healthcare was celebrating over $8 billion in first quarter profits, I was selling the last of my belongings that had any value. I begged you, United Healthcare, to cover my life-saving ketamine infusions, but you wouldn't hear me.
Following Brian obtaining his position as CEO, United Healthcare's declined claim rates had more than doubled, and right now is at a rate that is more than double the industry average. Additionally, Brian's personal compensation was $9.6 million in 2021, $9.8 million in 2022, and $10.2 million in 2023. Under his leadership, United Healthcare's profits had gone from $12 billion to $16 billion. It has also been alleged that Brian further lined his own pockets by participating in insider trading and fraud. This came after he and others had sold their stock options, right before an antitrust investigation into the company by the United States Department of Justice was made public. In May of 2024, the Hollywood, Florida Firefighters Pension Fund had sued him and 2 other United Health Group executives, alleging fraud and insider trading. So needless to say, Brian Thompson probably had many people out there who wanted him dead. On the morning of December 4th, many people had passed the gunman as he waited, but it seemed like he was waiting for just one person in particular, Brian. The murder was clearly a premeditated, pre-planned, and calculated attack. Brian, who had been staying at the Marriott Hotel across the street, had begun walking towards the Hilton Hotel as they were hosting United Healthcare's annual investors meeting, where he was set to announce that the company had turned an even bigger profit this year. As Brian was walking this brief distance, the gunman stepped out from behind the car onto the sidewalk, approached Brian from behind and shot him at least once in the back and once in the right calf. He continued to shoot him until his gun apparently malfunctioned. The surveillance video showed the suspect clearing the gun jam that looked to have a silencer on it, then firing again before walking across the street and down an alley. From this video, the gunman looked proficient in using a firearm, like he'd been trained. The suspect had then grabbed an e-bike as he continued his escape towards Central Park. After making his way through the park, he caught a taxi where he was caught on camera, once outside the vehicle and once inside. Police believe that he had then gotten off at a Greyhound bus station that serviced several different states. At the same time, Brian Thompson was taken to a nearby hospital where he would be pronounced dead at 7:12 a.m. Police immediately began their search for the masked shooter. The thing is, United Healthcare Group had been made aware of some threats against its high-level executives. While the threats didn't directly mention Brian by name, his wife Paulette said that there had been some threats against him. She said, basically, I don't know, a lack of coverage? I don't know the details, I just know that he said that there had been some people threatening him. The leadership team at United Health Group, including Brian Thompson, was also supported by an in-house security team. This would have also been true at the New York meeting. But for some reason, Brian's security detail had not been with him that morning. Investigators would discover at the scene a water bottle, some kind bar wrappers, a burner cell phone, and the shell casings from the bullets that had been shot at Brian. On one shell casing, it had the word depose. Delay was written on a live round that the shooter had ejected when he was clearing a jam. The word deny was written on a third shell. Police believed that the words written on the shells could point to a possible motive, noting that the words written on the shells could refer to a phrase that's commonly used in the insurance industry about denying claims, which is delay, deny, defend. Authorities also obtained a video from a nearby Starbucks from where Brian had been shot. It showed the assailant buying a bottle of water and 2 energy bars just minutes prior to the shooting. These are the same items that were later found at the crime scene. The suspect was also seen on another surveillance video checking into a hostel where he briefly took off his mask and was said to have flirted with a woman there. Investigators put all these images out to the public and they began asking for help in locating their suspect. 2 days after the shooting, the suspect's backpack was found in a wooded area of Central Park, and in it was a Tommy Hilfiger jacket and, oddly enough, Monopoly money. Following finding this backpack, police would continue their search of Central Park, even having divers search the pond, looking for the weapon, but they would find nothing. Then, on the morning of Monday, December 9th, 2024, a tip from a McDonald's around 300 miles away from New York in Altoona, Pennsylvania, led police to arrest 26-year-old Luigi Nicholas Mangione. He was found to be wearing the same clothing and mask that he'd been wearing the morning of the killing. This came after an employee at the McDonald's had been alerted by a customer that they had seen someone in the restaurant who looked to be the shooter. He was sitting in the back of the McDonald's restaurant, wearing a blue mask, looking on a laptop, and he had a backpack near his feet. When police arrived, they approached Luigi and asked him if he had been to New York recently. He then began to get visibly nervous, kind of shaking a little and not directly answering the question.
A McDonald's employee spotted Mangione eating at this restaurant and called police. This customer who was there says his companion also thought Mangione looked familiar.
He made a comment, God, that looks like the shooter from New York. But I thought he was, the group of us, I thought it was more of a joke.
Many on social media were quick to post their thoughts on the person who turned him in.
I don't know much, but I do know that McDonald's employee that ratted out that shooter definitely gives you the correct amount of sauce packs as prescribed by corporate and charges you 25 cents when you ask for another one.
The McDonald's in Altoona, Pennsylvania has also received negative reviews like this one. Rats everywhere, and I watched a nice gentleman get arrested while I scarfed down my Big Mac meal with large fries and a Diet Coke. I will never return.
In the backpack Luigi had with him, police found a suppressor as well as a gun, which they believed was the same one used to kill Brian Thompson. The gun appeared to be 3D printed and was found alongside a loaded Glock magazine with 6 9mm full metal jacket rounds. Luigi also had on him multiple fraudulent IDs and a U.S. passport. One of these IDs that he gave to police had the name Mark Rosario on it and a made-up address in New Jersey. It had been the same ID that he'd used to check into a hostel in Manhattan days earlier. According to authorities, he additionally had on him a bag called a Faraday bag that had stopped police from being able to track him. It's essentially a bag that you put your cell phone in, and it stops the signal from going out. In addition to all the other items that were found on Luigi, he had a handwritten manifesto in his backpack, which criticized healthcare companies for putting profits above care. His note said, "To the feds, I'll keep this short because I do respect what you do for our country. To save you a lengthy investigation, I state plainly that I wasn't working with anyone. This was fairly trivial, some elementary school engineering, basic CAD, a lot of patience. The spiral notebook, if present, has some straggling notes and to-do lists that illuminate the gist of it. My tech is pretty locked down because I work in engineering, so probably not much info there. I do apologize for any strife of traumas, but it had to be done. Frankly, these parasites simply had it coming. A reminder, the U.S. has the #1 most expensive healthcare system in the world, yet we rank roughly number 42 in life expectancy. United is the indecipherable largest company in the U.S. by market cap, behind only Apple, Google, Walmart. It has grown and grown, but has our life expectancy? No, the reality is these indecipherable have simply gotten too powerful, and they continue to abuse our country for immense profit because the American public has allowed them to get away with it. Obviously, the problem is more complex, but I do not have space, and frankly, I do not pretend to be the most qualified person to lay out the full argument. But many have illuminated the corruption and greed, e.g., Rosenthal, Moore, decades ago, and the problems simply remain. It is not an issue of awareness at this point, but clearly power games at play. Evidently, I am the first to face it with such brutal honesty. The spiral notebook that he had written about in this letter was found in his backpack, and it had a to-do list. In the list, he allegedly toyed with the idea of using a bomb to kill Brian. But he had decided against the prospect because it could kill innocents, and he determined that a shooting would be more targeted. He also reportedly wrote that it couldn't get any better than killing the CEO at his own bean-counting conference. Luigi Mangione was charged with 5 counts in Pennsylvania: forgery, firearms not to be carried without a license, tampering with records or identification, possessing instruments of crime, and giving false identification to law enforcement. He was additionally charged with second-degree murder, 3 weapons possession-related charges, and 1 forgery charge in New York. His fingerprints were also said to have matched fingerprints that were found on the water bottle that had been left at the scene. Now, Luigi Mangione apparently came from a wealthy family and a good upbringing. He's the grandson of a wealthy real estate developer, who's best known for his Turf Valley Resort, a sprawling luxury retreat and conference center just outside of Baltimore. The family also purchased Hayfields Country Club north of Baltimore in 1986. Additionally, one of Luigi's cousins is Republican Maryland state legislator Nino Mangione. 26-year-old Luigi was described by friends as being humble, easy to approach, and bright. He was also said to be kind and friendly. No one had ever expected him to be the one responsible for killing the CEO. Luigi was a 2016 valedictorian at his elite Baltimore prep school, Gilman School, and he even graduated from an Ivy League college, the University of Pennsylvania, in 2020. Here, he earned undergraduate and graduate degrees in computer science. He learned to code in high school and had started a club in college for people interested in gaming and game design. He had also taken a software programming internship following high school. Then, following his college graduation, Luigi worked remotely as a software engineer for an online car company, TrueCar. Then, in 2022, Luigi moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, where he had hoped to learn how to surf. But his first surfing lesson had turned into an absolute nightmare when it triggered his spinal problems and left him in bed for a week, with his back and hips completely locked up. The surfing had apparently aggravated a condition called spondylolisthesis that he had suffered from since childhood, and it left him in excruciating pain. This condition is where a bone in the spine slips forward, most commonly in the lower back. Posts from a Reddit account that were associated with Luigi suggest that the intermittent numbness he had suffered following the accident became almost constant, and he was absolutely terrified of the implications it might have. According to a friend, Luigi had told him that his spine was misaligned, and his lower vertebrae was almost a half-inch off. He believed that it had pinched a nerve, and it hurt for him to even sit down. He would often suffer from numbness in his groin and his bladder. The back injury was said to be so painful that Luigi couldn't even have sex. Therefore, he knew that dating and being physically intimate due to his condition was near impossible. But despite this awful condition, his friends would say that the articulate and kind young man was never angry and had never taken any heavy pain medication. In 2023, Luigi moved from Hawaii to San Francisco, as well as underwent spinal surgery that seemed to ease his symptoms. His x-ray that he posted on his Twitter showed that he had multiple metal pins put into his spine. Luigi would then go on to post on his Reddit how the procedure was a success, and he would encourage others to get the same thing done if they had such back pain. According to him, he was pain and med-free within only 7 days of the spinal fusion. Online, he also discussed having other concerning ailments, including brain fog that had come from Lyme disease that he once had, along with sleeping problems and irritable bowel syndrome. Those close to Luigi would say that even though he first believed his surgery was a success, his pain would soon return. When it did, they claimed that he began to act rather crazy. Some believe that around this time, he started using psychedelics such as mushrooms, which have been known to help pain, but can have other mind-altering effects as well. Then at some point at the beginning of 2024, Luigi dropped out of sight, and his family and friends wouldn't hear from him for months. Many reached out to him online, but to no avail. His mother eventually reported Luigi as missing on November 18th. She said that she had not heard from him or seen him since July 1st, and his voice mailbox was completely full. So, where had Luigi gone for so long? It would be discovered that Luigi had at one point read and reviewed Unabomber Ted Kaczynski's Manifesto, Industrial Society and Its Future. Luigi had then written a review online about the book, which said, "He was a violent individual, rightfully imprisoned, who maimed innocent people. While these actions tend to be characterized as those of a crazy Luddite, however, they are more accurately seen as those of an extreme political revolutionary." He also quoted the Unabomber at one point online, saying, "Violence never solved anything is a statement uttered by cowards and predators." In addition to all the medical difficulties that Luigi seemed to be dealing with, his mother had been diagnosed with severe neuropathy at 41 years old, which had started 10 years prior. At first, she'd experienced burning sensations in her feet, as well as occasional stabbing pains. Later, it got worse, and on good days, it would feel like her legs were submerged in ice. But on bad days, it felt like her legs were clamped in a machine shop vise, screwed down to where the crank stopped turning, and tightened further down until her bone splintered. The pain was so horrible that she would often have to crawl to the bathroom on her knees, and started having more bad days than good. The first 2 doctors that she had gone to wrongly diagnosed her with a psychosomatic and compressed spinal nerve. Finally, a third doctor conducted several tests on her before he came to a diagnosis, each of these tests ranging between $800 and $1,200 each. She had also been hit with a $6,000 deductible out-of-pocket from United Healthcare in October. The healthcare company had also limited specialist consultations to twice annually, meaning that she had to wait until January to resume testing. So it looks like Luigi had plenty of motivation for his crime. While many have been sympathetic towards Brian and his family in the wake of his murder, many have also been siding with Luigi and calling out morally corrupt practices of major healthcare companies, as well as big CEOs all around. As such, in the days since Luigi has been charged with gunning down Brian Thompson, more than 1,000 donations have poured into his online fundraiser to raise money for his legal help, with messages supporting him and even celebrating his crime. In New York, wanted posters of different CEOs have appeared. Websites are even selling Luigi merchandise, including hats with CEO Hunter printed across a bullseye. And some social media users have swooned over his smile and six-pack abs, as well as attempted to help fill his commissary account. Luigi Mangione's family said in a statement, "Unfortunately, we cannot comment on news reports regarding Luigi Mangione. We only know what we have read in the media. Our family is shocked and devastated at Luigi's arrest. We offer our prayers to the family of Brian Thompson, and we ask people to pray for all involved. We are devastated by the news." The same night that Brian Thompson was killed, his two homes in Minnesota, the one where he lived and the one where his estranged wife lived, were targeted in suspected swatting incidents. The Maple Grove Police Department said in a statement that they received a report of a bomb threat involving the two houses around 8 p.m., but no devices or suspicious items were located during the investigation, and they believe it was just a hoax. A YouTube video from an account that had the same information as Luigi's other social media accounts popped up on Monday, December 9th that said, "If you see this video, I've already been arrested. Stay tuned for more." He said he would reveal the truth in a second video, but before that second video was able to go up, YouTube suspended it. It's since been said that the account was not his and merely a hoax, but it came from the same username that Luigi had been using on his other social media profiles, and the YouTube account had been created all the way back in January. On Tuesday, December 10th, Luigi was brought into court for his first hearing, and as police were escorting him into the court in Hollidaysburg, Pennsylvania, he yelled to reporters gathering at the scene.
Completely out of touch and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and the lived experience.
In case you couldn't hear exactly what he was saying, what Luigi said was, "This is completely unjust and an insult to the intelligence of the American people and their lived experience." During the hearing, it was stated that Luigi had on him several $1,000s worth of cash when he was arrested. But he asked the judge to correct this detail, saying, "I don't have that much money," suggesting that the cash was a, quote, plant or something. Luigi's lawyer, Thomas Dickey, said that his client will plead not guilty. He also said that he has not seen any evidence that he is the shooter. During the hearing, Luigi would end up getting denied bail, and he fought his extradition back to New York. Pennsylvania now has 30 days to get an arrest warrant from New York to start the process. Unfortunately, for those who believe that Brian Thompson's death will make an impact on how things are done in the healthcare industry, the new CEO, Andrew Whitty, made a statement in a leaked employee video where he said he will continue practices that combat unnecessary care. He also urged his employees against talking to any media outlets. Now, many people have started to come up with theories as to why Luigi killed Brian, while others believe that police don't even have the right guy and he's just a patsy.
FBI wants us to believe that this guy is the one who John Wicked the CEO of United Healthcare, Luigi Mangione.
Listen, I'm not about conspiracy theories, far from it, but people are not this stupid. It's looking like he's a patsy, a fall guy. I feel like we live in a simulation, like a really weird Black Mirror episode.
There have been tons of people commenting on just how suspicious the arrest of Luigi seems. How he was found nearly a week later at a busy McDonald's with his backpack full of evidence, including the murder weapon. He had traveled nearly 300 miles, but didn't make any effort to get rid of the weapon. It's almost like he wanted to get caught.
Now you're telling me they find him in Pennsylvania in a McDonald's lobby with all the evidence on him? Didn't get rid of his gun, his silencer, his 4 fake IDs, and he's got a manifesto just in his pocket? Like, come on, man.
I do believe this is a hired hit. I don't know what kind of story they're putting out on it. I can't believe anything that they're saying.
The fake ID that Luigi had given police at the McDonald's had on it the address of 128 Sherman Place. And the Sherman Antitrust Act of 1890 was what outlawed U.S. monopolies. Monopoly money was also found in his backpack that was located in Central Park. On top of that, the Unabomber, whom Luigi was said to have possibly taken some inspiration from, had lived at the Sherman house while he attended Harvard College for 3 years. Other people have noticed that Luigi frequently used the number 286. For instance, internet detectives have deduced that his X account has exactly 286 posts. His profile also features a Pokemon called Breloom, which, if you look it up, has a Pokedex number of 286. Luigi was also apprehended at the McDonald's in Altoona, which is, oddly enough, 286 miles away from the Hilton Hotel where Brian was shot. If that wasn't eerie enough, Proverb 28:6 in the Bible states, "Better is a poor man who walks in his integrity than is a rich man who is crooked in his ways." Finally, the number 286 is a denial claim used in U.S. healthcare, when the appeal time limits for a claim haven't been met. So what does this all mean? No one knows yet for sure, but many, including me, think that there's more to the story than what's being told. Why all the odd monopoly clues and the number 286 everywhere? Was he just trying to get everyone's attention and knew that that would do it? Also, it's very odd that Brian did not have his security detail with him the morning of the shooting. And while he was scheduled to attend the meeting at the hotel, it wasn't supposed to start until 8 a.m. But Luigi had arrived on the scene shortly before Brian got there, which was a little bit before 7 a.m., over an hour before the meeting was scheduled to begin. So how did he know that Brian was going to be there at that time? He also had a few minutes to scope out the scene before Brian got there. So why didn't he try to avoid any video cameras? Instead, his full person, along with Brian, is caught on the camera for the entire shooting. So was it really just an angry 26-year-old who had planned out this killing as vengeance for all the medical problems that he and his family had faced? Or was it a paid hit? Maybe Brian was getting ready to spill some information about the insider trading deal to his investors at the meeting he was about to walk into. If that's the case, though, how did Luigi get involved? Some people even believe that maybe Brian Thompson is still alive, and this was all just orchestrated. What do you think? So if you like true crime and you want to hear it from me, then don't forget to hit that subscribe button below and turn on your notifications too, so you'll know when I upload a new video, which is at least 3 times every single week. Thanks for watching A Wicked World today. Until next time, take care guys. Bye. Thank you to all the patrons of A Wicked World. Now, there's even more of A Wicked World on Patreon. So check it out at patreon.com/awickedworld or use the Patreon app. You'll have access to exclusive videos each month and more. Any support truly helps to make sure the victims never get forgotten and to highlight the shortcomings of society associated with each case. Do you have a suggestion for a case you'd like to see me cover? If so, send me an email at awickedworldtruecrime@gmail.com.